It is so very easy. My name is Laura, and today let's work on block 2 of the block of the month from Quilting Confections called Rainbow Sorbet. I'm going to do the quilt in 2 different colorways. The one that is going to come with the pattern, and the next is going to be using scrappy fabric. I'm going to start with a very busy floral print with lots of different colors in it. That way I'm going to be able to use up little scraps that I have in my stash. Some of them are fat quarters and others have just never had a home. Each block will have at least one piece of this black fabric, and that will tie the entire quilt together. Block 2 is going to consist of your beige background and some green and blues. I like to take the pattern and make myself notes. Sometimes I will write the colors, and other times I will just draw little pictures of the fabric. So this has a zigzag, so I've just put a zigzag right onto the pattern. This has got some little markings, which will be this. Because I have 2 greens, I wanted to identify which green. And this way, at a glance, it's very easy for me to see. It's always nice to have a colored picture to follow along with, but if not, having your notes definitely helps. I'm going to start with that one green center point, and it's 2.5 inches. These long outside arms are 2.5 inches by 5.5 inches. These 4 corners will be made first and then sewn into this arrangement. I have my green for my center, my blue for C block. Now these half square triangles are going to be made with the green and the background fabric. And because I have a nice long strip to make my half square triangles, I'm going to do it all in one piece instead of cutting them in squares. To make a half square triangle, we normally just take our squares, put them together right side, draw a line from corner to corner, and then stitch on each side. When we cut that apart and press it open, we have our half square triangles. But there is another way. For this block, I'm going to need 4 4-inch squares in order to make enough half square triangles. So I will need to start with a piece of fabric minimum 4 inches by 16 inches and then cut those squares. I'm going to need the same amount of fabric, but I'm just not going to cut the squares until after I sew it. Take your 2 long strips of fabric, and in this case I have them a little bit more than 4 inches and a little bit more than 16 inches. I'm going to draw my blocks. So I still have my 4 blocks at 4 inches. I will still need to draw that line from corner to corner. But draw the line so that you have one line going in one direction and then coming up, so you're making this big zigzag. By having those lines drawn in the zigzag method, it's going to be very quick to sew. You will still need to stitch a 1/4 inch from that line on both sides, but you're going to be able to do it in a continuous line without stopping. You can start on one side and stitch all the way down beside that line, pivot, and come all the way back up. Pivot, go down, pivot, go up. Turn the fabric and then do the other side on the other side of the line. You will just need to have your 2 fabrics right sides together. You can put a couple of pins in just to hold it, but you won't have to do any other matching. Just stitch on both sides of those lines. So I've started, I've gone up, down, and where I've hit that mark, I've pivoted and gone back up. You're going to be able to keep doing this all the way through the full piece of fabric. That gives me the stitching on one side. Turn your fabric and do the next side. I now have all 4 of my squares stitched on each side of that line. It's quick and easy. You don't have to match up each square, and you don't have to remove it from the machine. Now that all the stitching is done, we can just take this and cut them apart. You won't have to worry about that outside fabric. It's just going to be trimmed off. Once your squares have been cut apart, trim right down that center line. These half square triangles are going to be trimmed to 3 inches. So if we have the Eleanor Burns ruler, we're going to take that 3-inch mark and place it right on the stitching line. Not on the cut part, but right on that stitching line. Once it matches that stitching line, you're going to be able to trim off the extra. That's going to give us a perfect 3-inch half square triangle. Press it to the darker side. With that long piece cut up and the half square triangles made, we will have 8 of these half square triangles at 3 inches. Before I press them open, I like to cut the little tails off so that when they're pressed open, there's no dog ears. And once I have all of my components done, I then will put it together. I have my green center and the 4 arms coming out. And to make each corner, I need a blue, 2 half square triangles, and the half square triangles are going to point into each other, and 4 background squares. This is how the block is going to look when it's done. I like to do this so that I can see the arrangement before I start. That way, if I want to make any changes, I can do it now. Because you can switch these components around. A lot of them are the same size. We could switch these two. So if I wanted to, I could have that white one come into the center and the blue going outside. It's giving it a totally different look. I can take these half square triangles and change them. I could have the points coming in, and I can have the points coming out. I could change so I have every other point changing. There are an endless amount of possibilities when you lay it out together like this. Many pieces can be switched as long as the sizes are the same. I'm going to sew it together the way the pattern is recommending. So I know these 4 corners are going to be the same. I can stack them together so I can chain piece them. And by doing that, it's going to save me time at the sewing machine. Now I can take this little stack to the machine, sew 2 together, and then sew those 2 rows together. And that's going to give me my 4 corners. I will just take a ruler and slide a ruler underneath all of my pieces. Now I'm able to pick this up and bring it right to the sewing machine. In order for these seams to nestle together, I've pressed the seams going in opposite directions. That way when they are fit together, they're going to nestle right in that corner. To continue pressing, I'm going to have one seam going in one direction, the other going into the other direction. That little corner seam is going to just open up. It's going to be a little 4 patch right there in that corner. The 4 corners are now ready. And if you want to change it, you still can change that block in a couple of different ways. To put them together, so the top row together, the center row, and the bottom row. Take the seams and press them going into this bar for the top and the bottom, and then this is going to be pressed out. Those will nestle together when you go to stitch those center ones together. So a beautiful sorbet block is now done. Let's try it in the scrappy combination. I'm going to start with the same size pieces. So I have a center block and those 4 arms, my half square triangles, and my 2 solid triangles. I'm going to change it so where they have the light, I'm putting the dark. My red center, 4 arms, they have the light in the corner, I'm going to put the dark in the corner. My main print will be in the center. My half square triangles, they have the light, I'm going to put the dark. It definitely changes the entire look of the block, and I still have lots of areas that I can change the look. I can change my florals, I can change my points. This is a lot of fun when you can play with your blocks. Once you've come with the pattern that you like, you just need to sew it together the same as you did the other. I now have 2 same but totally different blocks. These blocks will now measure at 12.5 inches because when they're sewn together, they will be 12-inch blocks. So the scrappy version or the sorbet version, they're both beautiful blocks. I'll put a link in the description to Quilting Confections if you want to get the fabric to follow along, and I'll also put a link to the free pattern. And as always, thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe and come on back. Let's see what we're sewing next time in the sewing room. Bye for now.